In the early 1960s, the world had turned into a silent yet deadly chessboard where two superpowers advanced through reciprocal moves. Nuclear warheads, intercontinental missiles, and ideological blocs dominated the headlines. Yet behind all this noise, a far more expensive and far more symbolic front was slowly opening: space. Welcome to the Snellian Archives. We explore how hidden files, critical decisions, and unseen technologies quietly shape the world we live in. From shadowy rooms of the past to the massive systems of today, join us as we uncover the real power behind the scenes. As rockets rose into the sky, the public's question was simple: could we go to the moon? The question governments were asking, however, was far more complex. Who would pay the price for this journey, and what would be gained in return? Today, the Apollo program is most often portrayed as a symbol of scientific courage, engineering brilliance, and the personal stories of astronauts. The footprints left on the lunar surface are presented as moments when humanity pushed its limits. But this narrative represents only the visible side of the story. Behind the scenes lay one of the largest state investments in history, an unprecedented financial risk, and an economic gamble whose consequences would stretch across decades. Apollo was not merely an effort to reach space. It was a massive undertaking that tested a state's economic power, organizational capacity, and long-term strategic will. When the Soviet Union launched Sputnik into orbit in 1957, global balances shifted overnight. Space ceased to be an abstract dream of the future and became a concrete arena of competition. For the United States, this event was not only a military warning, but also a financial one. A nation capable of reaching space was also capable of planning complex projects, financing them over many years, and managing their outcomes within a coherent economic system. The shock created by Sputnik was not simply a fear of technological inferiority. The deeper concern was economic insufficiency. Failing to invest in technology might appear as budgetary prudence in the short term, but in the long run, it could lead to far heavier costs. Seen from this perspective, the space race became a test of which system could bear the costs of the future. When President John F. Kennedy stood before Congress in 1961 and formally announced the goal of going to the moon, the speech was widely remembered by the public as an inspiring vision, even a romantic challenge. The message to American society was clear. One of the most difficult goals in human history was being chosen, and it was deliberately set to be achieved within the shortest possible time. Yet for the decision-makers seated in the congressional chamber, the true weight of the speech was not emotional, but budgetary. Between the lines, Kennedy acknowledged a stark reality. Going to the moon would not be cheap. The goal entailed massive expenditures spread over many years, continuously increasing budget demands, and a real possibility of failure. Moreover, these expenditures offered no easily explainable short-term benefits to voters. There would be no new highways, no factories directly providing employment, no tax cuts, no familiar budget items that could be readily defended. The moon was a goal with no clear counterpart in accounting ledgers. Kennedy did not hide this reality. On the contrary, he stated it openly. He accepted that the project would not deliver quick results, that it would not allow the nation to declare, "We succeeded" within a few years, and that the risk of failure was high. In this sense, the speech resembled not a conventional political promise, but a declaration of risk. The state was knowingly and deliberately entering a path defined by uncertainty. Despite this, Kennedy argued that the program had to be pursued because the true issue was not the destination itself, but the road leading to it. For Kennedy, the objective was not to place a foot on the moon. It was to demonstrate that a complex and costly goal could be achieved through a planned, disciplined, and sustainable economy. This message was directed not only at the Soviet Union, but also at American society and Congress. The U.S. economy was strong enough to sacrifice short-term comfort in order to sustain a long-term objective. From this perspective, Apollo was less a scientific project than a declaration of economic confidence. The state was not merely saying, "We can do this, but we can finance this for years." By choosing the moon as a target, Kennedy was in effect putting the American economic system on trial. Success depended not only on rockets functioning properly, but on budgets being approved year after year, industry maintaining uninterrupted production, and the public continuing to accept the financial burden. For this reason, Kennedy's speech to Congress marked not only the beginning of the space race, but also became a template for how large state-backed technological investments could be defended. The road to the moon began that day, not only on launch pads but in budget committees as well. The cost of the Apollo program amounted to approximately $25 billion in the currency of the time. Adjusted to today's values, this figure approaches hundreds of billions of dollars. It was one of the largest budgets ever allocated to a single project in peacetime. Moreover, no traditional return on investment was expected. There were no minerals to be extracted and sold from the moon, no products that could generate short-term profit. Apollo was a project that did not easily fit into standard accounting frameworks. For this reason, it is more accurate to describe Apollo not as an expense, but as a high-risk economic gamble aimed at the future. This gamble encompassed not only present resources but also future opportunities. The risk was immense, but so was the potential reward. One of the most critical aspects of this gamble was how and where the money was spent. Apollo was not a narrow, centrally executed state program. It evolved into a vast economic network spread across the country. NASA became the hub of an ecosystem that included universities, private companies, research centers, and industrial firms. From small electronics workshops to major industrial facilities, thousands of suppliers became indirect stakeholders in the program's budget. This structure transformed Apollo from an ordinary public expenditure into a controlled mechanism of economic expansion. A component developed in one state was tested in another and integrated into final systems elsewhere. In this way, federal funds flowed not only into space exploration, but also into employment, industry, and regional development. The chain reaction triggered by Apollo was particularly visible in industry. The demand for lighter yet more durable materials accelerated the development of new alloys and composites. Production processes became more precise, more controlled, and more systematic. In this project, the margin for error was virtually zero. The smallest flaw could mean not only technical failure, but also losses worth billions of dollars and human lives. As a result, quality control, risk analysis, and systems engineering emerged as vital disciplines. These approaches later spread from civil aviation to the automotive industry, from energy projects to large-scale infrastructure investments. Apollo was not only a space program, it was also a laboratory for modern large-scale project management. The transformation in electronics and computing may have been the most enduring legacy of all. Apollo's navigation and control systems required levels of computational precision never before achieved. Systems capable of real-time calculation with extremely limited hardware were developed. This approach became one of the foundational pillars of modern computer engineering. The path to the moon simultaneously strengthened the economic infrastructure of information technology. Maintaining the Apollo program was not only a technical challenge, but also a political and financial struggle. Each year, the program's fate depended on congressional budget approvals. The road to the moon passed through Washington's meeting rooms before it ever reached launch pads. Those defending the program had to present Apollo not merely as a scientific ambition, but as an economic necessity. Gradually, the debate shifted from "how much are we spending" to "what will we lose if we don't spend it?" Over time, Apollo developed its own economic gravity. Thousands of companies, tens of thousands of workers, and countless local economies became tied to the program, turning it into a project that was extremely costly to cancel. The space race also became a test of the financial resilience of two competing systems. The ability to sustain large long-term expenditures proved as important as technological superiority. Economic capacity emerged as a decisive factor in determining which side could maintain lasting dominance. Perhaps Apollo's most enduring return was its investment in human capital. Tens of thousands of engineers, technicians, and scientists learned how to work with complex systems through the program. This experience fostered not only technical expertise, but also discipline, coordination, and problem-solving culture. When the program ended, these people did not disappear. They dispersed into defense industries, private companies, academia, and newly formed technology firms. The methods and standards developed during Apollo gradually migrated into civilian sectors. Aviation, energy, medical technology, and computing industries drew directly from this accumulated knowledge. Even after the space program concluded, its economic and technological effects persisted. This reveals a crucial truth about technological investment. The returns of such investments are not immediate. Projects that appear expensive and inefficient in the short term can transform a nation's economic structure in the long run. Apollo stands as one of the most striking examples of this transformation. Today, governments' approaches to major technological projects still carry this legacy. High uncertainty, high cost, and long return horizons remain defining features. Yet such projects shape not only present needs, but future competitive landscapes as well. Looking back, it becomes clearer that the journey to the moon was not merely a scientific triumph. It was the outcome of a chain of financial decisions that influenced the direction of the global economy. As rockets rose toward the sky, a nation's economic vision entered a new orbit. And perhaps the question that remains relevant even today is this: which great technological gambles will define the future, and who will have the courage to bear the cost of these expensive yet decisive risks? If perspectives like these resonate with you, join us, because the next hidden story might just rewrite what you think you know.